Quick one before we start the countdown. Somewhere in the South Australian desert, there's a human figure carved into the earth, 2.5 kilo met tall. Nobody heard the machines that made it. Nobody's ever admitted to it. And it's still there right now. We're getting to that one. But it's not even the strangest thing on this list. If you've ever scrolled a real estate app and seen a 4-bedroom house going for less than a Sydney car space and thought, there's got to be a catch, stick around because we found 10 catches, real ones, mine disasters, poisoned ground, a town that drowned and keeps coming back up. 10 places where the population didn't just shrink, it basically gave up. Number 10. Let's start with the one where I'm not going to try and be clever about it. There's a town in the Pilbara that the government legally erased. Cut from the map, power switched off, roads closed. It's called Wittenoom, and here's why. Back in the 1940s, this place was built around Australia's only blue asbestos mine, and blue asbestos, chrysotolite, is about the worst kind there is. Around 20,000 people lived and worked here at one point. Kids used to slide down the mine tailings like they were sand dunes. Nobody told them the dust could kill them 30 years down the track. The company running the mine knew exactly what it was doing to people and kept it open anyway. The mine shut in 1966. The dying didn't. An estimated 2,000 former residents have died since, decades later, from dust they breathed as kids. The ground's still contaminated today. There's no safe amount of exposure. You could walk through Wittenoom right now, feel completely fine, and it could still get you in 30 years' time. So if you're waiting for me to say, here's who it'd suit, I don't have one. This is the one entry on the list where the answer's just, don't go. Not check before you go. Don't go. Number 9. Remember that figure I mentioned at the start? This is where it is, 1998. A charter pilot's flying over the desert near Marree and looks down and sees a man carved into the ground. An Aboriginal hunter holding a throwing stick, stretched over a perimeter of 28 kilo met. 2. 5 kilo met tall. Nobody had reported hearing machinery. Nobody had seen a truck, a plane, anything. Anonymous faxes turned up afterwards, pointing investigators round in circles, some with American spelling, like whoever sent them wanted you thinking it was someone else's doing. One local artist was suspected for years. He died without ever confirming it, and the thing just stays there, slowly fading, getting recut every so often, like someone's still out there tending to it and still not telling anyone. Here's the bit most videos skip. Marree isn't abandoned. There's fewer than 100 people actually living there right now, at the junction of the Oodnadatta and Birdsville tracks. So unlike almost everything else on this list, this is a real, if tiny, working town sitting underneath one of the biggest unexplained things carved into the planet. If the remoteness doesn't put you off, this is genuinely one worth looking into, but only after you've been out there yourself, because services in that part of the country move with the seasons, and you won't get an honest picture of that from a video. Number 8. In 1957, engineers needed water for the Snowy scheme, so they drowned a town. On purpose. They physically picked up more than 100 buildings in Adaminaby and moved them uphill and let the old streets, the old foundations, the road down to the church disappear under the rising waters of Lake Yucambane. For most of the last 70 years, that's it. It's just gone. A lake sitting where a town used to be, and people water ski over someone's grandparents' living room without ever knowing it's under them. But here's the part that gets me. In drought, when the water drops far enough, the old town comes back up, tree stumps still standing in rows along streets. Nobody's walked down in decades. House slabs, a rusted plough sitting exactly where someone left it before the water came in. It surfaced in the 80s, again during the Millennium Drought, and properly again in 2018, when people walked down into the dry lake bed and stood in what used to be their family's kitchen. You obviously can't move here, it's underwater most years. But if this sort of thing gets to you, keep an eye on Snowy Hydro's lake level reports, because that's genuinely the only warning you'll get before it comes back up again. Number 7. Morning shift, the 19th of September 1921. 75 men and boys go down into a coal mine west of Cairns. A series of explosions rips through the tunnels. Every single one of them dies. Queensland's worst mining disaster still over 100 years on. This was a town of only a few hundred people, so that 1 hour wiped out almost every household at once, fathers and sons underground together, gone together, and here's the detail that still gets me. The town had voted to build its very first cemetery only 2 weeks before the disaster. They just didn't know yet what it was going to be needed for so soon. The town held on a few more decades and then let go. What's left now is scattered concrete, one lone chimney stack, the cemetery, and this enormous sandstone mountain sitting over the whole site like it's watching it. A local station worker put it better than I could. He said the mountain doesn't feel empty, it feels occupied. There's nothing to move to here. But if you do go, stay on the marked tracks. There are old, unmarked mine shafts still out there in the scrub, and that part's not atmosphere, that's a real hazard. Number 6. Quick riddle for you. What do you call a town with a population of 1 building and a pub that's outlived everyone who ever lived there? You call it Betoota. Out in the Channel country toward Birdsville, there's a stone pub standing completely on its own. Officially 0 residents. For a long stretch of last century, the whole town was one bloke, the publican, who was also the barman, the postmaster. Basically, the entire electoral roll rolled into a single person. When he stopped, the pub closed and sat empty out there in the desert for about 25 years. Someone's since reopened it. So right now today, you can drive out to a working bar in a town with a population of 0, order a beer and be the only customer for an hour in any direction. Nearest neighbour, 5 kilometre away. The one after that, over 200. If you've ever fantasised about running a pub with basically 0 competition, this is about as close to that fantasy as it gets. Just go in knowing there's no school, no clinic, and no backup if something goes wrong out there. Number 5. Cook sits on the Nullarbor on the longest dead straight stretch of railway on Earth, 478 km without a single bend. It used to be a proper settlement. School, pool, a couple of hundred people servicing the trains. Then the railway got privatised in the late 90s, the jobs disappeared almost overnight, and so did nearly everyone else. Population now about 4. But the Indian Pacific still stops here twice a week for water and fuel, so the town gets kept just tidy enough to be photographed. Swept platform. Painted signs. An empty pool you can see clean across the bottom of. Curtains still hanging in windows nobody lives behind. People who've worked the line say the isolation isn't even the hard part. It's the wind. There's nothing out here to break it, so it never actually stops. And after a few days, apparently, you start listening to it just to have something to listen to. This one's basically job only. If you're not railway staff, there's genuinely nothing to move here for. Number 4, walk into the cemetery at Farina and count the small graves. Then count them again. The number won't sit right with you. There's too many. Farina's about 550 km north of Adelaide. The name literally means flower, because back in 1878, a group of settlers convinced themselves they could grow wheat out here on the edge of the desert. They couldn't. For a few good rainy years, though, everyone genuinely believed a city was going to rise here. 600 people at its peak, 2 hotels, a bank, even an underground bakery cut into the earth to stay cool, which is still standing today. Then the normal climate came back. Droughts, rabbits. The railway moved on and took the whole reason for the town's existence with it. Last permanent residents were gone by the late 60s. What's left is stone ruins and that cemetery, where the headstones tell you exactly what that hope cost. Infant deaths, women dead in childbirth, dates months apart on the same family plot. Locals who work the surrounding stations will camp almost anywhere out here. Almost. Some won't stay in the town itself once the light goes. They don't make a big thing of it, they just don't camp there. No housing stock, so this isn't a moving to entry, it's a volunteer restoration one. The Farina Restoration Group runs working bees a few times a year if you actually want a reason to be out there. Number 3, every second town in this country reckons it's the most haunted place in Australia. Usually it's just a marketing line. Kapunda's the one that actually committed to it. An hour or so north of Adelaide, built on copper discovered in 1842, the first successful metal mine in the country, and old enough by our standards to have a genuinely dark ledger behind it. Several people were reportedly killed at the North Kapunda Hotel over the years, including women who worked there, and the town's most notorious case ended with men hanged in Adelaide. Here's the difference from everything else on this list, though. Kapunda's still a real, living, working town. A TV program crowned it Australia's most haunted. Ghost tours have run ever since, and the North Kapunda Hotel is one of the most investigated buildings in the country. One visitor said she walked in a total skeptic, stood alone in a corner, and felt something pressed down on her shoulder. She left convinced. Unlike almost everything else on this list, this one you could genuinely move to. Normal commute to Adelaide, an actual local economy. The only real question's whether you'd be right living somewhere that's built part of its identity around being haunted, because that reputation isn't going anywhere. Number 2. Cape Grim sits on Tasmania's northwestern tip, where the wind comes straight off the Southern Ocean with nothing between you and Antarctica to slow it down. Scientists come here specifically because the air's some of the cleanest measured anywhere on the planet. And that cliff coastline's carrying a history most Australians were never taught. On the 10th of February 1828, 4 shepherds ambushed a group of Aboriginal people, the traditional owners of this land, on this coast, killed around 30 of them, and threw the bodies from a 60-metre cliff into the sea. It's one recorded event out of hundreds like it across the frontier, most of which were never recorded at all. I'm not going to dress this up as a ghost story, because it isn't one. People do describe a heaviness out here, a kind of sadness that seems to sit in the wind. Maybe that's just the mind reacting to knowing what happened. Maybe it isn't. Either way, the reason to actually sit with Cape Grim isn't to get a chill. It's that this was hidden for generations, and standing there refuses to keep hiding it. Not a moving to entry, and I don't reckon it should be treated as one. If you want the real history, go to the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre's own material, rather than the signage at the site. Number 1. Save the strangest turn for last. Wycliffe Wells on the Stuart Highway, 380 kilo met north of Alice Springs, in country so flat and so dark at night the sky stops being scenery and starts feeling like it's actually there with you. Almost nobody ever lived here. What it had instead was a logbook sitting on the roadhouse counter, where people wrote down lights they couldn't explain. Going back to soldiers stationed here in World War II, who watched lights move wrong, stop dead, reverse, and pace their trucks down the highway before vanishing. Decades of entries, truck drivers, off-duty police, pilots, people who walked in white as a sheet and just needed to sit down for a minute. It earned the whole place the informal title of UFO capital of Australia. And then, in late 2022, a flash flood tore through and wrecked the roadhouse. It hasn't come back. So the town that spent 80 years watching the sky for something unexplained's now become the unexplained thing itself. A smashed landing pad, alien statues with the heads knocked off, faded murals staring down an empty highway with nobody left to notice any of it. There's nothing to move to here right now, no population, no services. If the roadhouse gets rebuilt or relicensed, that's worth checking directly with Northern Territory Tourism before you plan a trip around it, because that status can and does change. So that's 10 places where Australia's population math just stopped adding up. From a mine that killed every man on shift, to a monument nobody will claim, to a town that erased its own existence from the map. A couple of these you could genuinely move to. Most of them, honestly, you shouldn't. If you know one of these better than I do, or you reckon I've got a call wrong, that's exactly what the comments are for. I'd rather get corrected than leave this as the only version of the story. And if this is the kind of regional Australia content that's actually useful to you rather than just a postcard, sticking around for the next one helps more than you'd think.